Exploring your love of the deep-fried potato. Yes, it's a vegetable whether you like it or not, and it is the most consumed here in America because it's delicious. But we also love to consume our music. So joining us here on Good Things is Richard Greenlee with the Twilight Concert Series, I guess 2.0 or the second edition, or how are y'all saying it, Richard?
Well, this is the third concert, but second of our season.
Okay.
So, yeah, we put one on in April.
And how did that go?
It was great. Sellout show. Alma Betts brand headlined it. It was an incredible show. Weather blessed us. It poured down rain the night before. Right. I mean, like torrential. Tents blew over. Had to rebuild the fencing, but
what is that like the night before where you're sitting there as someone who has worked so hard and you are just the voice of a huge team, I know, that puts on these large concert series, to sit there and watch Mother Nature just sort of, do her thing that you can't control, and then you have to get up and try to fix it the next day. I mean, lots of coffee, lots of caffeine.
I stayed on the motorhome on site that night, like 50 feet from the big 30 by 20 VIP tent, and I heard it collapse at 4 and heard the fencing blow over. And I woke up at 4 that morning when it blew through, and I was texting people who were still asleep, like, guys, we got to get out of here. Fencing's down, tents are collapsed, but we put it all together. We actually had to rebuild the fencing 3 times that day because the wind kept blowing it down. So we finally took the scrim off of it and just said,
We're going with it.
And
y'all had went with a unique sort of way of offering concerts, and that was with the pods. I know there were traditional tickets maybe sold, but then there was that pods. Did everyone seem to, did it click what you were trying to do with the pods? Did people like it?
They did. And actually, I think I spoke with you last time I was in here about that. The whole idea, my idea from the very beginning was to do an all-table seated series like they have at Chastain Park in Atlanta or at Live at the Garden in Memphis. And so COVID forced us into the pod mentality, but people love it. And especially now you don't have to have a table. We still have, this next show on the 17th is not a pod show, but all the rest of them will be. There's just no really social distancing guidelines. So they love it because you feel like you're in a general admission show, but you've got your own 10 by 10 square of grass that you're not crowded out. You can get back to. So they love it. It's awesome.
When you go to the restroom or go get something to eat or whatever it may be, then nobody's going to crowd in, come into your sort of little spot there. You don't have to protect it. And so, yeah, I could see where people would enjoy it. All right, so we're gearing up for the next one, and it is this Saturday, correct?
Correct. This Saturday, July the 17th, it is Big Head Todd and the Monsters, Southern Avenue and south of Eden. A lot of folks don't know Big Head Todd. What they do is my age, and that was their college band, so we have a lot of interest there. But they are an incredible performing band. They just got back from Red Rocks. They sell out every year. They do a lot of cover songs, and they're a great band. And like I said, this show is different. This one's a general admission show. We have a $25 general admission ticket to see 3 bands.
And
it's not just the music. It's as you know, out there at Renaissance, it's beautiful. We've got great food, great drinks. Bring a lawn chair, bring a blanket, go up to the front of the stage. You have a $25 GA ticket for 3 bands. You have a $100 VIP ticket, and we do have some VIP tables still available. So it's going to be a great show.
What does the VIP get you?
In the VIP area, you have air-conditioned heated bathroom trailers. We have a big 30 by 50 tent with couches, chairs, cocktail tables, a big enclosed bar. You get your own private bar right there. You get, it's not crowded right up front stage too. You have plenty of room up the general admission up front stage, but you're fighting for position. So we're not ever selling the VIP area. So you get a lot of amenities for that,
And so the $25 general admission gets you in this Saturday. So it's a one day. It's not a multiple day affair. When does the first one kick off?
Gates open at 5. The first band, South of Eden, starts at 6 p.m. 6 to 7 is South of Eden. I think around 7:30 to 8:45 is Southern Avenue out of Memphis, Grammy-nominated, incredible performance band. They just picked up on the Jason Mraz tour, opening for him. Also, they're playing before Widespread Panic down in the Caribbean where they do their thing every year. They play from 7:30 to 8:45, and then from 9:15 until is Big Head Todd.
When you were putting together, not only do you promote these concert series, the Twilight, but you also coordinate them and you put them together. Are you thinking of them as like, a meal with, you have your appetizer and then your entree or the dessert or however you want to think about it, and they need to complement each other, or or is it more of like, whoever is available, we'll just smorgasbord it together, or is there a theme to each series or concert? I'm curious how that works.
Well, as you know, during COVID time, I hate to say this, you're trying to find out who wants to work. And we're past COVID now, but back then and planning these shows, it's like,
because this is the work of you guys back in 2020.
Exactly.
Or 2019, I'm sure.
Yeah, in 2021, and trying to find out who's working, who's not working, who's touring. So a lot of the bands we're putting together aren't on tour. We're getting one-off dates. For instance, Big Head Todd's flying in from the show. They're not riding through a tour. So it's hard to find bands, but we always try to put music that complements one another. But also, if you think about it, I'm just being honest with you, from a salesman standpoint, we have different generations of people. So we try to mix bands that, that one generation would like and another generation likes, so we can bring,
So you can go with your mom and dad.
Yeah.
Or you can bring your aunt and uncle or whoever it may be.
Anybody from teenagers to 70-year-olds, so it works.
And it works. And people are enjoying getting out. I know that's one thing so many of you missed during the P word, the pandemic. And it is nice to see that we can talk about events where there's not necessarily the restrictions or all the things that have to go on, and people getting out to sort of support it. So if we want to do that, Richard, how do we get out and support this Saturday? How do we get out? Where do we get our tickets? Where do we go for all of that?
We have a brand new website. It's Twilight MS, like twilightms.com, and it's got everything about the series, about the shows, the venue maps, the different ticket offering. We have another show is already scheduled for July 30th, which is coming up, which is just 2.5 weeks away. It's The Revivalist, Dumps of Funk, which is Aaron Neville's funk band, and Epic Funk Brass Band. So it's going to be a crazy show. That'll sell out, but there are tickets on sale for that right now as well.
So I want to know where these bands come up with their names. I mean, we've talked about that several times here on Good Things about good band names, but it just feels like some of these I've never heard of. I'm like, where do you have your finger on the pulse of maybe, I know you mentioned who's working, but I mean, is there like a LinkedIn for just concerts, or I mean, how are you finding all of these different artists to bring them to Mississippi?
Well, I work with Arden Barnett, and he's been in the business for 30 years, and we're partners on this, and he's got a list of agents, and literally we send out, that's how the business works. You say, okay, here's the dates, here's our budget, who do you have that wants to work, and we get emails back of here are all the bands available, and we go through and look at bands, and there's certain bands like the Revivalists. They're a huge up-and-comer. I think Arden's done 9 shows with them in Jackson and other places. The last time they were here, they headlined Cathead Jam. The last Cathead Jam they had 2 years ago before COVID hit. Huge following. We've been wanting them for a year and a half, and this is the date we got. So that's how we got this, the July 30th date.
I just am always interested in all the working parts, mechanics behind it, because as the consumer or the one who just shows up to enjoy it, you just don't realize all the working parts behind it. So when you have these really cool opportunities within driving distance, especially if you're centrally located, you can come in and not even have to get a hotel, or even it's just a quick trip down and do some back to school shopping or whatever it may be, you are tipping the hat to those that have worked really hard for the last year plus to make opportunities for entertainment like this possible.
It's a lot of work behind the scenes. People don't realize, and I didn't, because I've been a super fan. That's what I do. I travel all over the country to festivals and concerts, and started helping Arden about 4 or 5 years ago putting on festivals, and it's a lot of work that goes into it. Usually most of the patrons just show up and it's party time. There's a lot that goes into planning and putting these things on. So
you called yourself a super fan?
Well, that's not what I call myself, but that's what I hear people. So you're a super fan, Richard. You'll go anywhere, and money's not. I don't mean money's not an object, but Well,
I think there's probably a lot listening to Good Things who would consider themselves that. I have a sister-in-law. Her and her husband would probably wear that as a badge of honor, where a lot of their, discretionary income goes to following their favorite bands. They're very festival-oriented. And I think you sort of are or you aren't. And I think that's a cool kind of way to travel, number one, and then also get in some really cool entertainment. So where's the furthest you've gone, Richard, for a festival?
California.
Which festival was it?
Well, I went and helped. We actually put one on out there with Arden called Power of Flower years ago. But I've been... Let's see. Furthest I've gone to festivals: Florida, California, Arkansas's not far. I guess California would be it.
Any festival you repeatedly go back to? Not in a while. Wakarusa is no longer. I
I don't think so.
I'm curious. We've opened the floodgates with the festival sort of conversation. If you've got a great music festival that you've been to, let us know, 601-879-4395. But we got more for Mississippi.org and plenty of music festivals for you to get into as the summer winds down. One is a concert series. It's not necessarily a festival. It's the Twilight series. I guess it's the second part of the series, if I get that right, Richard, coming up this Saturday. But before we get to that, I have to say, coming up this Thursday, we've got the 9th annual Palmer Home for Children Radiothon, and we're happy to have it right here on SuperTalk from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Every year we take this one day out of the year to focus on all the good things that go on at the Palmer Home for Children. You will learn all day how they rescue and restore kids. And one cool way we tell you about over and over is the Radiothon auction. Now, we have begged you for your gifts to give to the auction, and now they're going to be up. You can start bidding now. And just to give you a little bit of an idea of what's over there that's just waiting for you to go and place that bid and take it home, you got an autographed Archie Manning Ole Miss jersey. You got a DeWalt pressure washer donated by Ace Bolt and Screw. You got gift baskets donated by C-Spire. There's a custom knife donated by our friend here on Good Things, Brian Easterling, which was a Forged in Fire winner. You got several pieces autographed by Eli Manning. You got concert tickets to see Three Doors Down, Santana, and more. And you can even get a supply of Milo's sweet tea. And I'll share some more coming up next here on Good Things of the other things you can go and bid. But all you need to do is go to supertalk.fm and you can / Palmer Home and click on auction items to start going down that bidding process. And I'm sure there was a time in your life, either now or way back when you would have bidded on festival tickets to go and watch just some great music for several days. And here in Mississippi, from the top to the bottom of the state, we've got some great festivals. And even beyond, JoJo and Bentonia, it's fine. Yes, you can add in the Tulip Festival in Amsterdam can count. You are going January 2022. I would say if you are traveling, JoJo, to Amsterdam for a music festival, then you are a super fan. Like Richard wears that sort of badge of honor. Rano, I got to bring you in on this conversation because you're a music guru. Favorite festivals or festival you ever wanted to go to or highlight reel when it comes to music?
I have never been to Red Rocks, and I've heard that it's an amazing place to go, so that would probably be on the bucket list.
Bucket list festivals. Well, what are some of your highlights, Richard, when it comes to festivals?
You know, you come about. There are places I know that I want to go. In the break, I was thinking about. I've never been to Lockin. I want to go to Lockin. I've never been. One of my probably the creme de la creme festival. If I could produce a festival, is Bottle Rock in Napa. It is first class all the way. It sells out. I mean, it's in Napa Valley, and it's got the biggest artists you could ever think of: Sting, Eric Clapton, Guns N' Roses, Foo Fighters. Bruno Mars, and it's first class. You can from general admission up to a $4,000 pavilion where you're being served flights of wine by Robert Mondavi.
Sign me up.
Yeah, or Bobby Flay's cooking you dinner there. So it is that is my that's my Wimbledon or U.S. Open of festivals.
What makes a festival good? Anything from the Delta Blues and Heritage Festival in Greenville to the Bright Lights Bellhaven Nights in Central to Juke Joint festivals. I mean, there's so many to mid-size here in Mississippi. All that you guys put on with the Twilight series in Ardland and beyond. What makes like a good festival, regardless its size? And
that's a good point. And that's what we do. We're trying to strive for at Renaissance. It's not as much the band. Don't get me wrong, they're great bands. It's the experience. People are buying the experience and selling the experience. The more of the experience you can give them, whether it's experience first class, VIP experience here at Renaissance, or some of the most profitable festivals of these, EDM, these electronic dance music festivals. But it's all about the lights and the show and the stilt walkers.
We're all too old for that, except for maybe Rhino.
What I'm saying is, there's some, I'll do a lot of reading about this, and some of the most profitable and successful, not just for the promoter, but for the concert goer too, doesn't have the highest dollar band, they're not the A-list band. It's just the experience, and I think that's what it's really all about. People want to just go and have a great time. And I know that sounds kind of cliche-ish, but that's what it's about.
Someone said the Railroad Festival in Amory is a good festival, assuming that is here in Mississippi. So you can chime in with your favorite Mississippi festivals. We just want you to get geared up and excited here on Good Things about getting out and supporting these events that are coming to the state, whether it's centrally, northern, southern, southwestern, eastern, whatever. There's a lot of work that goes into getting these bands here. And then sometimes I think some of us who are especially, there's two stages of life. There's like the pre-baby kid family sort of stage, right? And then there's like you're in the middle of it. I guess there's three stages. And that's the hardest part, to convince yourself, to take the time to still go and do the things that you enjoyed before kids came along, because you forget how much you need those experiences just to, rejuvenate you and energize you in a different sort of way.
And that's what we're doing with Twilight, especially this show. It's it's a Saturday night, it's $25 ticket. I mean, it helps support, really does help support bringing and keeping live music here in this market, because every ticket counts. And so if you don't have anything else to do, you may not know the band or like the band, but you're going to have a great time. So you can sit at home or go to a bar or go to a restaurant or get all that at Renaissance on a beautiful green space. So that's kind of it really helps support the local promoter and the community to go to these shows if you don't have any.
Well, we talk all the time here about supporting local businesses, and even though those bands may not be rooted in Mississippi names, the businesses that are bringing them here and setting them up and running the sound and hosting and all that. I mean, when you want to break it down, you're still supporting your local economy by coming out and doing that. And
the sponsorships. People always say we thank our sponsors, but we literally could not put this on without sponsors, because the numbers don't add up. As much as our sponsor show as it is ours, we have some great sponsors, and we really couldn't do it without them, because the numbers just wouldn't work.
Then you also couldn't do it without also love for music. Richard, you mentioned that you've just been a super fan your whole life of good live music. Do you remember your first concert?
I do. My parents took me back in the 70s when Dream, the old Mothers Against Drunk Driving, brought the Beach Boys to town. And it was in the Coliseum, and I was probably, I don't know how old I was. I really admit it was the Dream concert, and the Beach Boys played in the Mississippi Coliseum. That was my first show.
Pretty cool. I think you've moved up and around since then. But the Beach Boys, I think they still get out and tour a little bit.
I'm not sure. I really don't know.
I think they do. I think you should go back for at least their encore to sort of bring it all around back home. Someone mentioned the Delta Bear Affair in Rolling Fork, Mississippi. Rumor has it that Frank Foster will be performing this year. Wow. I think it's cool, too, that the theme with festival, especially if you have some of those that have stood the test of time, early on for that community, there are those rumors like who's coming next year or how will you one-up it. And so as a promoter or one who puts it together, Richard, do you keep data of like, okay, this style or this person brought in X number of excitement, I have to one-up it the next year? Is there any that kind of mindset when you're putting these events together?
A little bit. It's not much as one-up it, but you do want to, you always keep data on who brings, what artists are hot at that time, how much, what ticket sales you did, also how much food and beverage you did, because that's the key. That's where you make your money, is in the food and beverage sales. So there are bands that come in that people drink a lot more than other bands. So you really have to think about that.
That's kind of neat, though. I appreciate you sort of giving us this behind the scenes view to putting these things together, because when you start to realize what all the pieces of it, down to the getting food trucks there or licensings for things or being able to have a venue. I mean, it's mind-boggling, all the components that have to come together. Is there a band? What's the most booked band? And this may be a statistic you don't know off the top of your head. By Ardland or you guys, like what's one that if they're coming through town, you're on the board trying to get them because we're going to love them.
I don't know. There are lots of great bands. Like I said, the Revivalists is one that I've been after since we first had the concept, as we need, because they grew up right here. I saw them first time years ago at Dilling Hall when Arden put that on. I'd never heard of them, and I was mesmerized by David Shaw, who just, by the way, played a solo. He's got a new solo career, and he just played Dilling Hall on the 7th of July a few days ago. Great show. He's still the front man for the Revivalists, and that's the number one name I had on my book since I had this concept, idea. Let's get the Revivalist in.
Darren and Jackson says, grew up in Memphis, and Memphis Music Fest is awesome every year. I think Memphis also puts on Memphis in May, which also has a barbecue fest, I think, connected to it, which many of our Mississippians have gone and kicked tail in the pork category.
I've
Have
cooked
you?
Oh yeah, we took second in ribs.
It's
one
funny
year.
how, I mean, when you think about what all just, like, music is obviously in the background of so many things in our lives that we love, and then when you start to mix them all together, whether it's, you know, the cooking and the fellowship and then actually the music, I mean, it really makes for just sort of a great recipe for a good time. When you think about the food that's going to complement, do you think about the food that will complement the people that are coming, or do you, because in my mind you're just creating this entire experience. And I mean, you see, I could talk all day about this because I feel like it's so interesting. But to round it out here, where do we go to get our tickets for July 17th and the fact that we should support the events that come to town?
TwilightMS.com. TwilightMS, like Mississippi.com. All about the shows coming up the 17th, the 30th, and one more in the fall, and a whole series in 22 we're planning now.
Well, we look forward to having you back in the fall to share for the third and final series for 2021. I'll ask you the food question then, Richard. But speaking of food, we'll have to get back to the French fry talk.